صلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين. Health is a very important part of our worldly survival. In order to take care of our soul, we should also take care of our bodies. And there are a lot of hadiths and du'as from our imams who say, Allah, Thursday dua from Imam Zainul Salam said, Allah give me health so I can worship you properly. So health is very important. A sound body and sound soul go together. So I thought this very important aspect of our life is inflammation. Most of our diseases, chronic diseases, are because of chronic inflammation. Obviously, can you change it? Next slide. So I'm going to give a definition and then the incidence and the effects and treatment. Next, please. Inflammation is very important for our survival. It's the body's defense mechanism. It removes harmful and foreign substances and begins the healing process. There are two types of inflammation. One is called acute inflammation, which is good inflammation, like if you get a cut or something, or if you get pricked with a thorn, that has to heal. And that takes place as soon as we get injury, and it's called acute inflammation or the good inflammation. But the other aspect is chronic inflammation, which is low grade, long term inflammation, is also termed bad inflammation. And it's been called a silent killer. It is responsible for most of the chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, dementia, cancer, etc. And these are preventable diseases if we improve our lifestyle, our diet, etc. Next, please. And chronic inflammatory diseases are being shown as the most significant cause of death. WHO ranks chronic disease as the greatest threat to human health. And as this diagram depicts, all the diseases, starting from diseases of the eye, kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, pulmonary, neuropathy, arthritis, cerebrovascular disease, autoimmune, neurological diseases which are very common, like anxiety and depression, has also been linked to inflammation of the brain. And all these diseases also have a very significant connection with our gut bacteria. And so, as Mawla Imam Salam has said, like if we see a universe outside, there is the whole universe inside us. We claim that there are about 8 to 10 times number of bacteria in our body, more 8 to 10 times the number of our cells. So there's a big genetic material, and sometimes this genetic material also drives our urges and desires for eating food and all that. The bacteria are a big component. Next, please. And long-term effects, it wreaks havoc on the body, causes all sorts of diseases, causes tissue damage, scarring, reduces brain function, accelerates aging, and causes chronic disease. Next, please. This is another picture showing how different diseases are linked to chronic inflammation. Next, please. And one of the most important aspects of this is cerebrovascular disease, how inflammation blocks the arteries, resulting in stroke, etc. And it blocks the arteries of the heart, it results in myocardial infarction, gangrene, abdominal aneurysms, etc. Next, please. This is another picture showing atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. Next, please. This shows a picture of the coronary artery. This is one side the coronary artery is open, the other side is getting clogged and results in a complete blockage, which results in a heart attack. Next. How do we treat these conditions? Starting with the diet that we eat, and for certain food we should avoid, and certain food we should eat more of. Again, fasting in the month of Ramadan, fasting is one of the best ways to avoid inflammation in the body. And the whole research going on is called time-restricted eating. There's a researcher, Sachin Panda from California. He has presented that two exactly genetically identical mice were given food, same number of calories what the mice need, but one were restricted to 8 to 10 hours of eating, and one were unrestricted, eating 24 hours a day. So the mice which were eating constantly, snacking and all that, they became obese, hypertensive, and died prematurely. And the mice which were restricted to eating same number of calories, 8 to 10 hours, they much healthier, more active, etc. So again, the month of fasting, this is what we do, is trying restricted eating. Exercise is a very important component of this lifestyle. Sleep. Unfortunately, we are getting less and less of sleep nowadays. In the last decade or so, we are eating 25% less than what we used to, and especially with our modern gadgets, the blue light, the computers, our laptops, iPad, etc., are affecting our sleep patterns, because there's a chemical in our body secretes called melatonin, which is connected with light. We'll discuss that further. Healthy relationships, our relationship, family relationship, all this negative relationship is also inflammatory. That's why I can correct me, but the hadith I was reading, the Prophet, even if they are in house, don't get into public argument and unnecessary discussions, which doesn't help. Reduce stress by meditation and prayers, and as Maulana was just talking about zikr, the recitation of the Quran, contemplation in the Quran, all these are stress reducing. Next, please. About the diet, the Prophet ﷺ warned against excessive food, as it poisons the heart with hardness, and blocks the soul from hearing good advice. So excessive food also impedes our listening to good advice. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, overeating spoils piety. So it affects our taqwa. And this, what modern science is proving now, our Imams and the Prophet has said 1400 years ago, it's just, unfortunately, we are so far away from the true teachings of Islam that we don't implement this in our lives. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, let your food be your medicine. When the diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. And when the diet is correct, there is no need for medicine. Next, please. So the foods that we should avoid, unfortunately, this is a major part of our staple diet. The standard American diet, which is appropriately called SAD, SAD, is high in saturated fats, red meat, processed foods, sugars, refined carbohydrates, white flour, cookies, sugary drinks. High fructose corn syrup is a major culprit of most of our soft drinks. Trans fat like the fried foods, French fries, and the tasty pakoras. Foods high in sodium. Vegetable oils, especially our regular vegetable oils that we use for our cooking, are high omega-6s, and these are all inflammatories. Next, please. There is a very famous writer, his name is Tom Rath. It's a very interesting story. Tom Rath, at 16 years of age, was diagnosed as having cancer of his eye. And he was diagnosed as having a genetic disorder where he was lacking a cancer suppression gene. That means he was prone to develop cancers. So they gave him a life expectancy of that he will reach of 37 years. But by lifestyle changes, he has superseded that by almost 12 to 13 years. He's still alive. So he calls sugar the cancer candy. So sugar cells, the cancer cells feed on sugar. So he has written this very interesting book called Eat, Move, Sleep, and he has been judged as the most non-fiction books seller on Amazon. Next, please. So obviously we discussed the negative part of what food we should avoid. Now what foods that we should include in our diet. And whole unprocessed grains, legumes, beans, usually we eat dal and these things are very good for our health. Wild caught fish, the fish which we generally eat which are farmed are full of chemicals. They put antifungal, pesticides, etc. in the fish, and they are in very small enclosures, so they are not very healthy. Especially tilapia is called the worst fish we eat. Wild caught, salmon, these things are more healthy. And vegetables, salads, especially they call the rainbow colors, some different lettuce, different colors. Broccoli is excellent as an anti-inflammatory, especially broccoli sprouts, they say is the best. Avocado is full of fiber as well as omega-3s. Unprocessed olive oil, spices, our diets have included a lot of spices such as garlic, turmeric, cinnamon, saffron, cumin, zira, all anti-inflammatories. Seeds and nuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, almonds, pistachio, these are all healthy foods. We should focus more on plant-based proteins rather than animal-based proteins and increase our fiber content of our foods. The interesting thing is our body does not digest fiber. But these fibers are important for the survival and thriving of the microbacteria. So is our microbiome. This is Allah's arrangement, such a miracle. The bacteria that we have, they take the fiber that we don't digest and create anti-inflammatory chemicals. They call small chain fatty acids. And they have been shown small chain fatty acids. I was reading an article how it's very healthy for heart health. Because these anti-inflammatory fatty acids improve the heart health. Next, please. And this is just a picture of the healthy foods that we should include in our diet. So especially this part, the chia seeds. I love chia seeds, and my grandchildren, whenever they come, they say, I said, Nana, chia seeds, so I make chia seeds with some honey, and she loves it. This is the best dessert for her. Next, please. Now we discuss about fasting, how it protects us against inflammation. There's so many benefits, especially for autoimmune diseases such as type 1 diabetes, arthritis, lupus, by reducing inflammatory markers. And also, a study done why fasting, our gut bacteria also become healthy. And there is a process called autophagy. I'm sure some of you may have heard, which means that the breakdown products of our body, the body is always breaking down the cells which are getting diseased and worn out. These cells have to be removed because if they're not removed, they act as a source of inflammation. And that's called, the process is called autophagy. Autophagy, the person, the Japanese scientist who described this phenomenon was given a Nobel Prize. because autophagy has been shown to be very good for cancer prevention. And that comes into action only when you challenge the body, when you fast. If the body is fed from outside, over eating, that process slows down. So autophagy is very important, and that is stimulated when we fast. There's also a process called mitophagy. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of our energy cells. And these mitochondria are also stimulated because they also break down, because this is a very dynamic process. They're always working and they're breaking down. So those dead cells, these cells have to be, worn out cells have to be removed. And that also comes into action when we fast. Next please.
Autophagy. How many hours plus some fast when autophagy starts?
Yeah, ideally they say should fast for about 10 to 12 hours.
And for how long this autophagy lasts
It's
when it
constantly
starts?
happening.
Okay.
So always we're doing it, but if you overfeed the body kind of becomes lazy. Okay.
Anytime we do fasting 12, 14, 16
Yes,
hours,
yes, yes.
autophagy start working.
Yes. So now, any other questions? Anybody else?
It is something has to do with the genetics. We had some natural
Yes.
genetics because we don't have, some people have heart attack more, some people have, even they are doing dieting.
Similar
Yeah. Yeah. Genetics plays a big component. But it's very, some people use this little expression that genetic lowers the gun. Our lifestyle fires it. So, you can override some of the genetic issues. An example, that guy Tom Rath, he had a genetic defect, cancer suppression gene. But by changing his lifestyle, he had superseded his expected life expectancy. So genetics is an important component, but you cannot blame genetics on everything. A lot of people, if you take off proper care, you can control it. Mr. Bhai, have you anything to add?
नहीं, I remember आपने जो sleep का बताया था. So when I was at Philips, they invited a sleep expert, and there's obviously many research on sleep. One thing I remember from many years ago now, is that if you don't sleep for ample 8 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep, the deficit, it's called sleep debt. It doesn't go away. It accrues over your lifetime.
Yes.
So the amount of time.
You know what I'll do is, I'm going to come to that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, of course.
Now, exercise.
Oh,
Exercise is so important that when you exercise, there is a biomarker of inflammation called CCF protein that's reduced by exercise. And the US Department of Health recommends about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. High intensity exercise sometimes can be reversed, so then it's called more intensity. Moderate intensity exercise. The people who are marathon runners and all that sort of thing. This is fine for a short time, but cannot continue on a long-term basis. It has the opposite effect.
if I may add just one thing, it reminded me another topic. Maybe I'll take 1 minute. Is there is an institute in Florida, Orlando, Florida. It's called Human Performance Institute. They bring in top CEOs, CTOs, football players, basketball players, and train them how to manage stress. In that training, it's a 4-day training, and it was like tens of thousands of dollars. They go over exactly these things what Dr. Moosa Jaffari is sharing, which is nutrition, exercise, and spirituality. This is exactly the 3 topics they covered.
Next. Again, yoga, although we associate that with Hinduism or Buddhism or some other, I don't think it has to do anything with religion. It has been shown to be a very important anti-inflammatory effect. It reduces stress hormones, increases endorphins, natural painkiller. I just discussing this. Yesterday we did 6 hours, 6 days of salat. MashaAllah, Maulana did a very good job. He only did the only essential parts and we didn't feel it. We felt we slept so well after we left here. So these things are so important. And natural painkillers, endorphins, and give you a euphoric feeling. That's why we call the jogger's high. And the joggers, the people who are used to this exercise, they get addicted to this. They feel good. It increases memory. There is a chemical called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. We found this chemical body secretes increases the nerve memory. Naturally, as we age, our area of the brain, which is called the hippocampus, which is concerned with memory and learning, shrinks. But they found that people who exercise not only doesn't shrink, it increases in size. So exercise is very important, and there are other things which can also increase the BDNF by contemplation, learning new languages, thinking, increases these chemicals. It's been shown on a petri dish, put neurons and sprinkle BDNF, they sprout new dendrites. Even in the petri dish. It's called the miracle grow of the brain. Like you put miracle grow manure, that's BDNF is like that for our brain. So, and reduces anxiety. In short, depression and anxiety can be reduced by exercise. If you take antidepressants, drugs and all that, they have side effects. And with exercise, the only side effects are positive side effects. You feel better. So anxiety and depression can be treated by exercise. But unfortunately,
the stress, when we excite, the stress also comes out. Then it affects all our organs. Mental stress, physical stress. When we excite, stress helps us to take exercise, it reduces stress. We feel more physically active, thinking, and more, active in that case. So when you are set, depending how much exercise you do, but that gives you a little bit, how take out the stress and your body feels good, but physically fit and
sure.
that is important. It's exercise. It depends on which exercise you do.
Anyway, next.